It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Competition. Competition's always good. And if they fail and suck, well, at least the good thing is Netflix brought streaming to the main stream.
Right.
But welcome to A Cast with No Name. We are your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 4, Monday, April 25th, 2022. This episode, we will discuss our first viewings of the 2003 Western Open Range, the 1984 Coen Brother crime drama Blood Simple. Plus, we will talk a little bit about Netflix, and we'll discuss how the Fantastic Beasts franchise failed and what Warner Brothers should have done to make it successful. We'll find out all that and more on A Cast with No Name. But first, Netflix. Fuck, I don't know. Yeah, go. Netflix?
Yeah, Jay, Netflix. Yeah. I didn't really watch anything new this week because I was busy watching all this other shit that we're going to talk about. So I figured let's talk about the Netflix news.
Yeah.
And how the stock just kind of took a shit and what that all means, because it sort of relates to what we've been talking to the last couple podcasts on just getting content out there for content's sake, and how does that affect the business model, and how are they making decisions? And Jay, with the news of a 34% single day stock drop. Yeah. How do you think the shareholders feel today about their company, Jason?
Oh, I can't imagine they're too happy. However, news came out. They lost about 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter of 2022.
And weren't they expecting like a gain of 2.5 million?
Yeah, I don't know what they were expecting to gain, but yeah,
I think it was something like that.
They lost 200,000. They're talking about, or they've already implemented an ad-based subscription.
Wait, hold on. How do you feel about the ad-based subscription pivot if they were to do that? I don't know if they're going to do that, but
if a company wants to do whatever, I feel like a company should be able to do whatever they want. If they want to have an ad-based model, I guess sure they have the ability to do that. It appears desperate to me. Going from no ads to generate more money, because with their 200 plus million subscribers, really, like,
right?
You can't cut costs anywhere else. You can't figure out to make things more efficient or a way to attract more people.
Well, and that was the appeal to begin with, to start with.
Mm-hmm.
People, back in 2010, 2011, 2009, I can't remember the exact year, but people were starting to get on the Netflix bandwagon because you could watch every season commercial free. You didn't even have to take out the DVDs to waste your, 3 minutes of time to reload the DVDs.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely made it simpler. I guess for households that can't afford, I don't even know how much it is a month. It's 17, 18.
Well, that's the thing. That's another reason why it was so successful, I think, for the past 7-8 years. There was no price hike in subscription. And then, recently, the past couple of years, they've hiked it every year. Mm-hmm. I think now it's close to $18 a month.
Okay.
Before it was like 10.
Yeah. And I think it depends like in 4K content and the amount of devices you can have and stuff like that.
Yep.
I mean, if a household can't afford $18 a month, my whole thing is, ads notwithstanding, I don't think it's worth $18 a month. Right now. I mean, they don't have any shows, and what shows they do have, they're in the twilight years of those shows. So you have Netflix, you have Ozark, which is ending this year.
Yeah.
You have, I said Netflix, Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Which is in the final 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
trying to think of what else they have. It's like a staple.
Not really anything. And I don't know if they have stuff in different regions, because they have, I mean, they make shows for European audiences. They make shows for Korean audiences. So they have different regions that they make content for. South America. So I don't know what hit shows are down there that are popular, if any, but the whole thing, I don't know. I hope they start to concentrate on content. I think they've been in creation mode for a while to cover all other IPs leaving their service,
Yep.
like all the Marvel shows, Friends, The Office. All of that content is now going to those owned streaming services,
Yep.
and I think in the next couple of years, unless Netflix really starts pumping out quality content, I think they're going to be hurting as far as just getting new subscribers or retaining existing ones, because all the good content that people enjoyed Netflix for is not going to be on there
That's right.
anymore. And all the major studios with owned IP, valuable IP, is creating streaming services and are fairly successful. So you have Disney, which obviously they have probably the best back catalog next to HBO
Mm-hmm.
with their TV shows. You have Paramount, which is starting to get better with, and that's owned by CBS and the whole Viacom thing.
Yep.
And then you have Peacock,
Yep.
which that has The Office and everything else, and Universal.
Yeah, NBC Universal.
And they're still doing quality content and have quality content in their backlog, to where Netflix has spent the past 5-6 years creating anything and everything under the sun as far as content, but then they cancel things. And that's their other problem, is that the shows that do gain a following, there's no completion of story, so there's no reason. It's created kind of I guess, a precedent to where if they come out with a new show, a lot of people probably won't watch it until they can expect it to be completed.
Guarantee
Because Glow was a great show that Christy and I watched. They just canceled it out of nowhere. Part of it was COVID, but part of it, maybe they didn't have as many viewers. But Glow, I think, was a modest hit. Santa Clarita Diet was hilarious. Again, just canceled out of nowhere. Just no wrap up. No, and it wouldn't be as bad as if they did like a 2-hour episode or an hour episode just to wrap things up to complete a story. But I feel like they're just creating stuff. Like a very hyperactive child is just creating a bunch of stuff. Like, oh, let's do this.
It's the shiny new object.
Yeah, and they do this, and they're like, okay, I'm bored. Let's do this over
Let's do
here.
something else.
And they're gonna have to start really, I think, creating good content.
Yep.
Because their movies aren't particularly good.
And we've talked about that. We've said they're missing something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is the tipping point. I think it's been reached. Before Netflix had 5 or 6 years of just straight dominance in the streaming game, and it's finally at its apex since like you said, everyone has their own streaming service now, and all the back catalogs that Netflix was banking off to get that initial subscription base, they're all gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Friends and The Office, and is Parks and Rec still on there?
Nope.
Yeah,
it's on Peacock.
Right. That's how you got your foundation to begin with. And they had 5 or 6 years where they could have separated themselves by making smart decisions. And like, you're right. They throw money at things with no obvious plan. At every new shiny object, they give directors and creators, a certain budget, and they say, go make something. We'll try it out. And I can't think of a Netflix series that has come to a logical conclusion. I'm thinking about like House of Cards, which was one of their first really successful original series. Of course, it didn't help with the whole Kevin Spacey thing, but I mean, the final season on that was just not good at all.
Mm-hmm.
Orange is the New Black. That was another one that was very popular. That final season wasn't very good. Me and Nicole watched it. Yeah, Stranger Things. I mean, there's still a couple seasons left there. And I honestly can't think of an original Netflix movie that has just stood out that will stand the test of time.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that they've really had, I mean, they had Roma, which
Nominated for Best Picture, I think, a couple years back.
And I watched that. Um,
Okay.
Pretty good slice of life movie. I'm not a huge slice of life movie fan, but it was shot really, really, really well.
I'm sure it was really, really well made.
And then you had The Irishman.
Long.
Yeah. They and that, I mean, it wasn't Scorsese's best.
No. Well, Jay, we've all seen Goodfellas. We've all seen The Departed. Yeah. We've seen Casino. It's all those movies wrapped into just a couple different characters. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like.
And I wonder if it was just so long because Scorsese was able to do
whatever he wanted.
Yep. But
this is why this is a good tipping point. I think they're going to have to reevaluate their business models on how they select content and how much money you give these endeavors.
Yeah, they're going to have to start acting like an actual studio as opposed to random upstart internet company. And we like movies,
so we have no competition. So we're throwing,
and
caution to the wind.
Mm-hmm. And even and I don't log on to Netflix that often anymore.
What's the first, like, if you want to watch something, is Netflix the first go-to for you now, or is it something else?
I would say HBO Max is probably my first go-to.
That's mine now.
Partly because we're rewatching Friends, but they have a more variety of content.
Their movie selection's pretty good.
Yeah, you have HBO, you have the stuff that's on HBO cable currently, movie-wise, which you have more of your recent ones. And I think it helped them that they were releasing first-run movies same day streaming.
Yeah, that helped
for a while. From what I understand, they're not doing that in the future. They're not going to be doing it, which is fine.
Yeah. I like that. I want to go to the movies again. Yeah. I enjoy that.
But I would HBO Max. I
doesn't help variety. Doesn't help that it doesn't hurt that you got Rick and Morty on there and South Park, two of the best.
Yeah.
Animated cartoons out there. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, well, that, and they have hubs. They have Turner Classic Movies on there. They have, they did a really good job.
I was actually surprised they didn't have Lawrence of Arabia on there. I was hoping they would, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
But no, I think they've done a really good job. I have friends that disagree because of their sound mixing or their 4K quality or 4K content is lacking. But as far as how they organized it for the average consumer, I think they nailed it. But they had the IP behind it. I mean, they have all the HBO shows on there permanently that aren't going to go away. And I think a lot of it, what's going to keep people going back to a certain streaming service or keeping them subscribed is the IP. It's obviously it's going to be the shows. I mean, it sounds obvious, but having a bunch of crap in front of you that you don't know what to watch because you've never heard of it before, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, and they should have saw this coming because they're not like an Apple or an Amazon where they have another business unit that they can fall back on. They're not diverse like them.
Yeah.
So Apple, it's well known, Apple TV and Amazon Prime, like the video service, it doesn't make money for Amazon or Apple. They're in it for the data and what people are putting their eyes on so they can tailor advertising even more. Netflix, that's not what they're doing. All they have is content. So if your content sucks, you're going to charge people more for shitty content, you're going to lose subscribers.
Yep. So
they're at a crossroads right now. And I think it's good though. I think they're going to adjust and maybe put out some better movies, Jay, that me and you'll like.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully it'll force them to try.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll buy a couple more theaters and change the way they bring some of their content. It would be an expensive way to do it, but at least it'd be
thinking outside the box.
Yeah. To where, hey, we own some theaters in select cities. If you're a subscriber to Netflix, you can go see this movie in a theater for free.
Yeah. I like that.
So, I mean, don't know if they're going to do it, but at least hopefully they'll try something new or try something to keep them in contention.
Yeah.
Because other than a couple of shows, I don't know of anything. And the other, they don't have DVD. That you can't buy their stuff physically.
It's another. So that hurts.
It's which is probably why they're going to bring up ad-based subscription just for another revenue stream
Yep.
to keep the shareholders happy. But
so what's that mean, Jay? That means $25 for ad-free subscriptions and then $7 for ad subscriptions.
yeah, I would if yeah, I hopefully them bringing on ads will keep them from raising rates. But if they do, I don't know. If I had to cancel something, it would probably be Netflix.
Yeah, probably.
I would say I was discussing with someone. I thought for the longest time my answer would have been Amazon, but because I'm like, oh, Amazon doesn't have anything, but they have Jack Ryan, they have The Boys, they have Reacher, they have Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, they have
Some pretty good properties.
pretty good shows that are still airing. Marvelous Miss Maisel's wrapping up. They have Lord of the Rings. They just got a hold of the Bond IP, which that's scary. But
that's all scary stuff, man. They're gonna fuck Lord of the Rings all the way up. It's not gonna be good.
And yeah, it'll.
Well, you know what? You wouldn't have to choose to get rid of Amazon Video Amazon, because you're not getting rid of the next day delivery.
Correct.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, and that's that's what I think. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just
it comes with it.
It comes with Prime. So
yeah. So you always have it, Jay.
Yep.
It'll always be there.
I need that shit made in China sent directly to me. Hopefully they'll start trying.
I think they will. It's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Competition. Competition's always good. And if they fail and suck, well, at least the good thing is Netflix brought streaming to the main stream. But yeah. Anything else on Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Cool. Next, Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts. And where to find them?
Yes. We wanted to we wanted to talk about this because, well, the new Secrets of Dumbledore movie came out.
We plan on seeing it.
Did not get around to it because life. And but we still wanted to talk about something with Fantastic Beasts and how that they missed the mark on the movie.
It could have been better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yep. Could have been a lot better. And but we want to touch on this because we've talked about this before. And I don't think a lot of from what I've seen, no one's really brought this up.
No.
And
they're going to now.
Oh, yes.
It's done.
The tens of listeners you guys are going to spread the word like the apostles, and everyone will be speaking about this.
Yep, it's going to be trending on Twitter. Number one.
Yep. But the movies don't work. We haven't seen the third one. Second one was not good. The first one was okay. But overall, I'm pretty sure it was a letdown for most people.
That's fair.
Yeah. And there's reasons for that. And we just wanted to touch on those. So
yes, we did.
I guess first let's talk about how it's fundamentally wrong.
Right.
And I don't want to be a mic hog or whatever.
No. I want you to for this one. It's pretty good. But no, I'll set it up and you just knock it out of the park, Jay.
Okay,
all right.
You set it
I'll throw the fucking fastball right down the middle.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest flaw in this franchise, Jay, at least the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and I think you agree with me, is they shouldn't have focused on Newt Scamander as the main character.
Correct.
And they should have focused on.
Well, hold on. Before we do that reveal, which it shouldn't be too much of a shock, but yeah, Newt Scamander should not be.
No.
And let's talk about the problems with the movie. But before we talk about the problems with the Fantastic Beasts, let's talk about why Harry Potter worked. Yes. Because that is going to lead in the decision making for Fantastic Beasts, or how it should have led into the decision making.
Correct.
So, I guess start, in my opinion, why Harry Potter worked was the audience was able to buy in with the main character, Harry.
Yes.
And these movies, these types of movies that have massive world building properties or
Qualities.
you need to find a character that you can follow, and it has to be somewhat of a bland. Doesn't mean dull, but a generic character. So you have Harry in Harry Potter, you have Neo in The Matrix, you have Luke in Star Wars.
Right.
They're a very basic person. They're not overly complicated. And they're not so far out of reach to where someone wouldn't be able to relate to them.
Couldn't imagine being in their shoes.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, there is another way you can go about that. You can do the Iron Man route, or you can do the Captain America route. No one is going to be Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
No one can be Tony Stark. However, people want to be Tony Stark because he's charismatic. He's rich. People
Smart.
want to be that person.
Yes.
Where it doesn't work, the Hulk. Nobody wants to be a big green raging monster. Nobody wants to be out of control of their emotions to where if they get upset, then they lose all control. No one wants that. No one wants to be the Hulk. If they do, they're probably bending it in their mind in some kind of way to where they would have control over the monster.
Right.
Not just out of control.
Which Bruce Banner in Endgame ends up having full control of his emotions, and he walks around as the Hulk. So yes, point well taken.
Yeah.
And I agree.
But those, and we'll kind of reference that too. I'll make references to the Hulk because that's another instance why it wouldn't work. So, but yeah, you need a main character for the audience to buy into, to travel along with in that universe. And Harry worked out. He wasn't, people told him, oh, you're a great wizard or blah, blah. He's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, I personally think the MVP out of that whole trio was probably Hermione.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you explored that whole world with Harry. You learned things along with Harry.
You found out information at the exact same time that Harry did.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and typically that's how you want to have your main character, to where they're guiding the audience and the audience is growing with them.
Yep.
And the other thing that worked, and this kind of goes along with picking the right main character, is when you start the franchise and the main character is 10 years old, those movies were targeted. They knew who they were targeting.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And when they started, the first two movies, they were targeted towards young kids, or, they were targeting 10, 11, 12-year-old kids.
Yep.
And it was entertaining enough for families to watch it together, but they knew their audience. As those characters grew, the tone of those movies grew along with the characters.
Right.
And
but to add on to that, by the way, they were geared towards 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, but 12-year-olds. The reason it works, though, is even adults, they remember what it's like being 10, 11, and 12, the same age, going through school, the same experiences going from, grammar school all the way through high school, all that stuff. You can project yourself, even though you're a 35-year-old, a 50-year-old. It's entertaining. And the story itself, you're discovering the world too through the eyes of a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, because you can just envision yourself in the exact same position.
Yep. Another thing that the way the movies worked is that they were based on books that were already hugely popular.
Yep.
And those books were written by J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Fantastic Beasts movies, the first two. And what worked is they were already based on books. They had a template. They had a guide to begin with.
Yep.
Granted, some of the books were still being written as the movies were coming out, but they were able to time it to where the books were being completed prior to the movie being filmed.
Yep. Unlike Game of Thrones.
But those books were whittled down by screenwriters because it's a different medium. You can take, that's why mainly people say, oh, books were better than the movies because there's more in the books. There's a lot more in the books.
There's more detail.
More detail. Movies, you got to cut the excess stuff out, stuff that doesn't matter.
Yep.
And there was major storylines cut out from, at least I know, Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, yeah.
With the elf rights or the slave issue and all that. They completely removed that for the movies. But you had these stories already written, whittled down by screenwriters who are used to writing for movies. That goes into Fantastic Beasts. So, contrary to everything we just said for Harry Potter, who's the target audience for Fantastic Beasts?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone else does either. Judging by the characters, I would assume adults.
Yes.
However,
the weird experience I had rewatching this over the week, Jay, is yes, it's adult characters, so you get the sense that it's for adults, but then the plot comes in, and you're like, is this geared towards adults? I think this is like they're trying to make a kiddie movie, but then they have these elements of adult themes in there, and because the movie's Fantastic Beasts, so you got to have beasts in there.
Mm-hmm.
And every time there's a scene with a beast, it's some like cutesy, geared towards kids scene. Oh, they're adorable, aren't they? And they're awesome magical creatures. And then you have a theme of child abuse.
Yeah,
it just gets thrown in there.
Repressed memories,
and it's like, this storyline with I have magic in me, and I have to repress it. And if I don't repress it, I kill people because I just lash out into the environment, and I have no rhyme or reason of where I'm going. Whoever's in my path, they're dead. And when you juxtapose that with Fantastic Beasts and it's a kiddie thing, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's muddled.
It creates a difficult tone.
Yes.
And so, not sure who the target audience is.
Yep.
These movies were written by the author. J.K. Rowling can write books as long as they're Harry Potter. I haven't read Casual Vacancy. I think
it's like a murder mystery straight.
Yeah, I never read that.
Me neither. And why would you, Jay? You're not a J.K. Rowling connoisseur.
I don't read
good
with the
letters and with the punctuations
stuff. But she can write books. She cannot obviously write movies. It's a totally different medium. It's the reason why you have to drill, like you can't just throw everything that was in the book, and books hit you harder sometimes because they're presented to you from a different way. Most of the time during first person, you're able to see characters' thoughts or read characters' thoughts. You can't do that in movies, short of narration. And
so then you have to like spell everything out.
You got to spell everything out,
which is kind of distracting. But
then if you're an author writing a screenplay, you're going to go about it how you know how to write, which is how to write books, which means I'm going to throw all these details in, most of which probably shouldn't even be in there. And when that movie was coming out, J.K. Rowling was the height of her powers, and Warner Brothers probably just wanted another Harry Potter movie. She said, fine, but I'm writing it. I get final approval. And they were like, okay. And that's what you get.
That's what you get.
So if you're an author, not to say that authors can't go and write screenplays or vice versa, you have to go about it writing it differently. And I don't think she did that. She put in stuff that was superfluous. It wasn't clear. It felt like I was missing half of what should have been in there if it was a book. It didn't feel complete. It didn't feel like they knew where they were going with the story, which could have been an issue too.
I think that's very evident. After watching it again, it ends and I'm like, where are they going with this? Even though I've seen the second one.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the main character, you had Harry, which was the perfect one. You have Newt in this one. The main character needs to be somebody that people can relate to. There might be some people that can relate to Newt. Most most general audiences will not be able to relate to him.
Right.
Oh, he's quirky and weird and socially awkward. Granted, yeah, that's probably the majority of movie fans, period. And but you don't have him as their main character. That's why you have Charlie Babbitt and Rain Man as the main character and not Rain Man.
Rain Man himself, yeah.
It's why you don't have Jack Sparrow as your main character. You have Will.
Yes.
White bread Will
Sparrow
is your main character. Jack is cool, and some people, people want to be Jack Sparrow, but he has the same problem with the Hulk. Not that, people don't want to be him or he's a monster. Too much of him is completely overboard. If you had a whole movie, just the Jack Sparrow show, which I think it kind of got towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't as good. The best one was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they threw in more Jack, more of his, and it made it less special.
Yeah.
I think if they were trying to go for a quirky character for Newt, they nailed his character, I guess, but he was in it way too much.
Right. And you can be neurotic and socially awkward, but it gets to that tipping point where, a lot of people are socially awkward and maybe a little neurotic, but Newt just takes it overboard.
You still have to make them relatable.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
What was it?
I mean, I'm neurotic and a little socially awkward at times if I'm in like a room of people I don't know.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna. Newt has these weird mannerisms that
hunch your shoulders.
Yeah, and talks like this right out of his mouth the whole time. It's like, all right, take a deep breath. Calm down.
Tropic Thunder. You don't go full retard.
That's right.
You
never go full retard.
Yeah, never go full.
Champagne, I am saying. Never went real. Went home with the gold. What's the example they give?
Forrest Gump, retarded. Play ping pong, not retarded. Go home with an Oscar.
But who went? He said who went full retard though and didn't go home with the gold?
It was Sean Penn and I Am Sam.
Oh, that's right.
He's like, he went full
Sean
retard.
Penn.
Went home empty-handed. But
we got to do a show on Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Not that Newt went full retard, but he went so far that it wasn't relatable.
Yes,
and you can't have somebody unrelatable be your main character. You need to make them relatable. You need to allow the audience to buy in. Him being quirky and cute is not enough. There's got to be a reason for him doing, or a reason for you're following him. Mm-hmm. Harry had an abusive household. He wanted to get out of there. He just found out on his 10th birthday that he was a wizard. That's something that kids can buy into, which I'll touch on that as far as who should have been the main character. But that's the main thing is like Newt, you can't be that awkward. Need to make them relatable.
Yep.
That aside, so we've touched on, they don't know who the target audience is. They have the wrong main character, and it was written by somebody who's used to writing books, not structuring their writing and storytelling to fit a narrative that typically fits in a 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
And they may or may not have had a complete path as far as what these movies were supposed to be, because there was a couple animals in there in the first one, I guess, but it wasn't about that.
No, it's not about the animals.
And which is fine, but it was like,
it's like they settled on a title. They're like, we have to call it this.
Yeah, we have to call it something. Or like they needed to release some kind of news, and they're like, oh, Fantastic Beasts, where to find them? Great. What's the story? Fuck it. We'll figure it out later.
We'll put the animals in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Put the animals.
We're going to have some CGI fantastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And people will get it.
Yep. So you had that. Now to the main character. And I touched on this earlier. When you're a kid and you're watching Harry Potter and he discovers he's a wizard, that target audience, the 10, 11, 12-year-olds, they have that imagination. It's why the character worked, because you can
project yourself.
You could project yourself in there.
Oh, yeah.
You could imagine if you're 10 or 11, that'd be most 10 or 11, 12-year-olds obviously know wizards aren't real, but there's still that side of them like, that would be cool if it just.
I was 17 when I saw it, and I thought that would be so cool if I was a wizard. Oh yeah,
Yeah. And it's easier to buy in. It's easier to follow them along further into movies, especially after they're 5 movies in. You've grown up with these characters, and you can get away with pretending you're a wizard too.
Yeah. And I do think that it came out at a great time in like movie history. 2001 tail end, because right after Harry Potter came out, Lord of the Rings came out. And that sort of those 2 movies sort of solidified that, okay, fantasy is back, and it can make a lot of money at the box office.
Yeah, and it was good that when they came out, because the effects were there.
Yes,
some of the older effects are a
little dated. At the time, they weren't.
Yeah, but you could pull it off.
Yeah.
Consistently, and became more feasible.
Yep.
Adults, no, they're not wizards. And
sometimes
yeah.
Have you been to a Harry Potter trivia?
For Fantastic Beasts, I think their target audience was everybody that grew up with Harry Potter.
Yep.
And when that movie came out, was it 2015? 2016. When that movie came out, those kids that grew up with Harry Potter were now in their mid-20s.
Yep.
Late 20s. Possibly early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your target audience.
Yep.
Because you already created the child story. Now with Fantastic Beasts, if you want that franchise to continue with that built-in audience you've already built up with Harry Potter, that audience is older, targeted toward adults. And I'm not saying, and this is what we would have changed, is very, very minimal. To where I think the first movie was close. It needed another revision. They could have changed the plot points completely, but all the characters they could have kept. The underlying story of a wizard war kind of percolating, or like people kind of becoming like rebellious or whatever the hell was going on, you could have kept that.
Yeah. It's sort of a soft reboot of the Voldemort war plot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you could have kept that, but you could have had your main story.
Yeah.
But your target audience is adults. And your main character should have been Jacob Kowalski.
Yes.
And the reason for that is Jacob Kowalski is probably playing a character around the age that majority of the people that grew up Harry Potter are watching.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in his late 30s or maybe possibly early 40s, but he played younger. He played probably somebody in his 20s.
Yes.
Or late 20s. Same thing with Newt and Queenie and
Tina.
Yep. So he should have been the main character because he is somebody that's relatable, and he would have been the guide for these next series of movies, because you're having a no magic person be the main character of your Fantastic Beasts or Harry Potter universe is the character you want as your main character when your target audience is an adult. And that's what their target audience was. They could say, oh, we made these movies for kids. Really? The only kid I know is the Ezra Miller character, and he's like 17 in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple little creepy Village of the Damned kids in there, but
and he's being physically abused.
Yeah. I was like, that
heartwarming.
The movie's not for kids.
It's not for kids.
I mean, kids can watch it and be fine, but whoever,
like we said, they put the Fantastic Beasts in there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
no, but Jay, it goes back to the point. Why was Harry Potter so successful? You follow Harry through the steps of discovering the wizarding world. He's typically he's a no-mage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not aware of his powers to start off with, and you're discovering everything through his shoes. It's the same thing. The adult version, quote unquote, of Harry.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not destined to be a wizard, but you're following him along the journey, the Fantastic Beasts journey, through 5 movies or however many they plan on having.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he would end up being the everyday character you relate to. And the one you champion and you root for, because he doesn't have these powers. He's already an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have other underdogs you can put him up with, like Ripley, Rocky, Laurie Strode, and he seeing what he can do to overcome that
Yep.
obstacle. You would still have Newt. Newt would, and Jacob Kowalski would be Newt's sidekick.
Yes.
But Jacob Kowalski is the main character because you're looking at it through his eyes. He's experiencing all this brand new, and
it's like Rain Man.
Yeah,
seriously,
exactly like Rain Man.
Yes,
and exactly the same thing.
Oh, yes, the same plot.
And they could have, and this is kind of playing with the story a little bit, and we can touch on the story, but how it would have fit is you could have kept them meeting the same way to where Newt is socially awkward. So therefore use that to the story's advantage. You have Jacob, who's wanting to start a bakery and he doesn't have the funds to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Have them work together to where Newt maybe has, he gives him those silver eggs or something at the end,
towards the end,
to where he's aware of that now. He could say, hey, I have something I could provide you to help you get your start if you help me in what I'm doing. To where what he's doing, he's in America. He doesn't talk with people very well. He comes from an area where nomad people aren't restricted in the magical world. So you have that conflict that to where he's bringing him around to all these magical places, and everybody in America's the Makusa's like, what are you doing?
Yes. Yep.
So you can play on that, but he's socially awkward. He knows he's socially awkward. Jacob is a very affable, friendly person,
Mm-hmm.
to where that would be quote unquote, like more or less his translator throughout America.
That's right.
And his guide. And to where, and Newt's main thing could be, which I think should have nothing to do with the wizard uprising or the wizard percolating wizard battle. That can be going on in the background and maybe a concern for some of the other characters, and maybe have something for them to do. But it could just be Newt trying to find, I lost this thing, I need to find it. And you turn them into quest movies. You could even have Newt Scamander not be that good of a writer, and Jacob Kowalski is the one writing the book.
Yeah.
And to where, Newt signs off on it, and it could end up being his journal that is actually what's created into the textbook.
Right.
And Newt could provide all the scientific or quote unquote scientific details of these animals and the curiosities that have to do with them. But Jacob should have been the main character. You would be able to follow him. It would have let the story, I feel like, grow a lot more organically than it would with Newt, because Newt, he's already established, so you know nothing about him. I guess I don't know what difficulties other than him being socially awkward.
They tried to make his character interesting by introducing Lita Lestrange as like a love interest, but they inserted that to give him some sort of background, like some sort of tortured background that he's still grappling with.
Oh, like a mystery box kind of thing that you discover on. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no. They tried to do that, and again, it's Lestrange, so you're trying to connect it back to the original Harry Potter series. But then they introduced Tina as like the love interest towards the end of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they didn't settle that because the second movie comes along and Lita's marrying Newt's fiance, and then that Lita Lestrange backstory, tortured past, kind of just goes away.
Yeah,
they don't even mention it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an indicator that they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how to make Newt interesting. To your point, he's just quirky. He likes animals and he's socially awkward.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally all Newt is.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's not interesting at all.
Yep. And I haven't watched the first one. I watched the first one. When did Crimes of Grindelwald came out?
2018.
Okay. That, I think that was probably the last time I watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, was right before that movie came out, so we could watch the second one. And again, Jacob Kowalski is the best part of that movie. Part of it, he's a little bit of comedic relief, but he's the most interesting person because you're experiencing it along with him. You could still have Queenie and him having the love interest thing. You could still have him losing his memory at the end. And that would make it hit. I think that was probably the most emotional, relevant point, is the fact that he had to say goodbye.
Yes.
And I think it would have made it that much better if he was the main character, because you could do a couple of creative things like that. If you're seeing the world through his eyes and he forgets something, I mean, you could obviously, like, he kind of remembered something, but you can play with that a little bit narratively. There's, I feel like it opens up so many more possibilities because you're looking at it, one, through someone who's more relatable, but two, through a limited viewpoint. Um, Meaning you can play with his memories, or he's not aware of everything. So you're
Yeah,
able to,
yeah.
if you want to explain or show something new, it's a lot easier to explain it. It's a lot easier to, I mean, instead of having Newt walking around, like if I was Newt, I wouldn't be explaining shit other than like if he asked me a question, hey, what's it? Oh, it's yeah, it's a wand. I fiddly fuck and then it does
It does
something.
its thing.
And then I'd move on. And
Yes.
so um I that I think is their biggest drawback. They missed the main character to where who it should have been.
Well, I think they tried to pivot after watching the second one because it features Johnny Depp's character, Grindelwald character, predominantly more in the second one,
Mhm.
a lot more than actually Newt. Dumbledore's in there a lot more as well. You can tell they're trying to set up shifting from Newt to Dumbledore and Grindelwald in that conflict. So in order to have 5 movies, they need to have like an end, gangbusters conclusion of it's going to be Grindelwald against Dumbledore, sort of like they had Harry against Voldemort. They were trying to mirror that conflict, because I think they knew that Newt is not very compelling.
Yeah, and maybe that's something they decided later on. Maybe if that was their whole plan to begin with, then you just make a young Dumbledore movie.
Yeah,
I mean, just do that. I mean, I think I would have had it because I like Tina, Queenie, Jacob, and Newt.
Mm-hmm.
That could have just been that group. I mean, maybe that's the group that they go on these quests or whatever. I don't feel like they needed Grindelwald in there or Dumbledore. If they wanted to have that an underlying thing, something that boils up. But I think they did too much in not enough time, and they didn't understand what they were trying to do. But yeah, it did feel like fan service in the second one.
Yep.
Which is throwing in.
Well, they're trying to replicate the entire conflict of the Harry Potter series.
Yeah.
They introduced the blood pact between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, so to where they're connected and they can't harm each other. It's straight back to Harry and Voldemort, where they're connected from the Cruciatus curse, with Harry's mom protecting him, and he's a Horcrux, so they're interconnected.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, I mean, they took the wrong lessons of what made Harry Potter good.
Yeah.
And they should have made these movies. They wanted a new Fantastic Beasts series. They could have done that. And obviously Jacob's the main character, but they should have had these movies like quests, like Raiders.
Yeah.
Having an Indiana Jones like adventure movie, every single one. You could do exotic locations. It had the first one in the United States, then it had the second one was in Europe, Paris.
Yeah.
You could have one take place in the Sahara or Russia or China or whatever. You could it would be a great way to introduce a lot of different magical communities. And it could have been the James Bond-esque, each movie a different kind of adventure. Oh, we got to go find this animal. And it would make a lot more sense to where that would be what drives the storytelling, to where he's kind of almost like a gun for hire, Newt being a gun for hire, to where he gets paid by different magical communities to, okay, we got this thing going nuts. Can you collect them, please? Because we can't really deal with them that well.
Yeah.
And so he brings Jacob with him and the crew, and they have an adventure. You don't even need the Wizarding War if you don't want it.
You don't need to connect it with 5 different movies connecting each other. Yeah.
And you don't need to connect it with characters that we already know.
Right.
And
well, they're so far removed, Jay, from the original characters. Lita Lestrange, like in the movie, like, she's the daughter of Corvus V, and I'm like, I know Bellatrix. That's it.
Yeah.
So how far removed is Lita from Bellatrix?
Yeah.
So what if you're gonna go like 4 generations behind? It's not really a connection. Mm-hmm. It's just this is the vague name. Remember this vague name? Yeah, we're gonna throw that out there. Yeah.
I think it was a missed opportunity. However, at the same time, if I could change one thing, I feel like if they just changed Jacob, they could have kept a majority of the story. I feel like it just needed another rewrite or 2. And
yeah, because you could have kept the Credence subplot where he was like, physically abused and repressed I can't remember what the Obscurial, I think is what he is.
Obscura or
Yeah,
something.
that could be the movie.
Mhm.
Like Newt was sent there because there's an Obscurial terrorizing New York City,
Mhm.
and then that's what the movie's about.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. And then the next movie,
Cut it off.
something else.
There's no Dumbledore.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's just that's the movie, and then you go like you're at like you say it's Raiders. It's
Mhm.
another adventure.
Yeah. And yeah, I think
And it's geared towards adults, Jay.
Yeah,
because all the adults have grown up.
Yep.
Sort of.
Yeah. And but that's who's going to be watching those because it's not.
Have you seen the meme?
Mm-mm.
There's a meme. Nicole sent it to me. It's 2001. It's a bunch of kids going into a movie theater, and it says Harry Potter, and it's 2022, Secrets of Dumbledore, and it's a bunch of like adults going into the movie. Yeah.
It's the truth, and because no kid is going to watch a preview of Fantastic Beasts, any of the 3 movies that they put out so far, and be like, I want to see that because they don't know what the fuck that is.
Right.
They do with Harry Potter because there's somebody my size.
That's right.
My age.
Looks like me.
Looks like me. So. But yeah, that's they had a huge missed opportunity. I think they just went about it the wrong way. They tried to do something like Harry Potter, but I think they took the wrong lessons away from why people liked Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And they didn't know who they were targeting. Because I think they just felt, oh well, this is.
They thought it was so popular that it didn't need to hit all. Or make all the connections. It just had to have. It had to vaguely resemble it, and it would be a success.
And I was hoping the third one would be better. I was kind of banking on maybe the third one would possibly have better reviews, simply because the original screenwriter
Steve Kloves,
was coming back to write the actual screenplay instead of J.K. Rowling.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a story, you don't have a story.
It's tough,
and you can't make something be
trying
awesome.
To make lemonade here. I got these oranges. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah. So it's tough to create a franchise or a continuation of something if you don't have a roadmap.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I think we're not going to find out what happens in the conclusion of this 5-film franchise because I think they're just going to cut their losses. It's just like the Chronicles of Narnia. It's just like it. They plan on making a movie for all, I think, 7 books, if I remember right. And they stopped at the 3rd one because they weren't financially successful. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I saw the first one when it came out in theaters. And I saw Professor X as a goat man.
That's right. Professor X. I forgot he was in that. That's right. Yeah. The young James McAvoy.
I don't remember those movies being really terribly entertaining.
Of course you don't.
So that was probably their main problem.
Gonna say, I don't really remember these movies.
Yeah.
I barely remember them. I think I just saw the first one. I never saw
I just saw the first one.
I remember Liam Neeson is the voice of
Jesus, the lion,
or
Lion Jesus, Asgard.
Not Simba.
Azra. It starts with an A.
Yeah, you're right.
Ass lion.
Aslan.
Oh, Aslan. that was like, I was just trying to be funny. I didn't know it was a play off of it. Man, his name is almost Ass Lion. That's awesome.
But I was thinking Mustafa, right? Who's Simba's dad's name?
Mustafa.
That's not right.
Mufasa? Who's Mustafa?
Isn't that Will Ferrell's character off of Austin Powers?
No, off of Zoolander.
That's right.
Mustafa. Yeah, that's right.
What's Will Ferrell's character's name on Austin Powers? I'm severely burned.
Oh shit! Maybe that is Mustafa.
I think it is.
Magato is the name of.
Yeah.
What was the name of his character in Elf?
Buddy. Come on. Give me a break.
All right. What other Will Ferrell movies?
Yeah. What other? Yeah. He should have been in Fantastic Beasts. Would have made the movie better.
But yeah, so that's why Fantastic Beasts didn't work.
Yeah.
Myriad of other things, just wrong story. But mainly, I think the biggest downfall is the main character. If you don't have someone to relate to, people aren't going to buy in.
I wrote a note here too that, we've gotten so far ahead in CGI that you can't sell a movie on just the CGI. Maybe you could have done that 20 years ago. Watching the first Harry Potter was literally like magic. Mm-hmm. nothing you've ever seen before. And they try to fill that negative space in the Fantastic Beasts movie with magical creature CGI shit. And it's like everything you've seen before. It's nothing really magical. It's just typical CGI stuff that you've seen 1,000 times before.
It doesn't make it special.
Doesn't elevate it.
Which I wonder.
Like, Jay, here's a good question. Can you sell a movie nowadays on just, CGI that you could have done 20 years ago? Haven't we reached the point of just, is there going to be another Avatar where you're just...
Well, yeah, there's going to be four more of them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you go see it because you have to experience it because you've never...
Because it's an event.
It's an event. You've never seen anything like it before.
I don't know, because it would have to be a different way of presenting the story.
Like 4D
or some kind of VR thing. But I don't know, because you used to go to movies for bigger productions.
Oh, yeah.
Now the exact same budget could be done for TV shows.
Yep.
And that's why we're in still in the golden age of television, to where you can do a lot more with the characters that you can't do in movies. Plus, you could also have your huge special effects, and you could have your world building. You could have so I don't know. I think maybe, was it Scorsese said Marvel's turning into, the Marvel movies are like theme park rides.
Yeah. Roller coasters.
Maybe that's the new movie. There's a 4D
could be
kind of stuff to where hook you up with the robot, and
I think you're right about the VR. I think we're there in a couple of years. It'll be like a VR movie that comes out.
I would not want to have to figure out how to do that.
Well, they do have theaters in LA and New York where it's like VR theaters.
Oh, really?
But it's for movies like, the Nature Doc, narrated by Richard Attenborough.
Oh, so you're just like kind of plopped in the middle, and it's
and they're
environmental.
Kind of a thing. It says like turn right, you look right, and there's an animal there.
Yeah.
And then Richard Attenborough comes up and starts narrating or whatever.
Like, went through Jesus. Like, what the fuck, God? What is this?
Yeah.
And but yeah, because you would have, because if you created a movie that was more of a VR experience, you're gonna have people walking around. You're gonna have, like, how do you direct the narrative that way?
I don't know.
That'd be tough. That, and you'd have to fill the whole world with something like,
you'd have to direct them on what to look at.
Yeah.
Like guide them through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to have someone like walking by the bookcase and they're beating off in the corner. So like,
we got
to throw in the masturbator, build out this world, make it believable.
There would be so many people just feeling up people in the dark.
Yeah,
bunch of pervs taking advantage of it. Wow, Billy, you've seen the Richard Attenborough doc 12 times this week.
Jesus,
it's really good. I love it.
Why do you have rubber gloves? Huh? So,
this theater is littered with Kleenexes and empty socks.
But yeah, I don't know if movies will be events anymore.
Yeah.
Because Marvel's a theme park ride, but at the same time, it's also they're 2-hour episodes TV shows, and Endgame was pretty much the season 2 or season 3 finale.
Spider-Man No Way Home is the 3rd highest grossing movie of all time. So you can't say that event movies are completely dead, but
they're not. And I'm not saying movies are dead, but could they have made that movie for a streaming service?
Yeah, it's fair.
It's just whatever channel you decide to.
It's
but
true.
As far as like the CGI and the effects,
nothing earth-shattering. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short of, Peter Jackson was playing with frame rates for a little bit.
Yep. That no one liked.
Yeah.
No one liked it. Didn't they have to re-release The Hobbit on like regular frames because people were just...
I think when they released it on Blu-ray, they did it on regular frames because people didn't like it. But I think there were some... I don't know if there was an option where you could watch it at 48 frames or not. But...
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe Avatar 2 is going to come out. Like you said, James Cameron's going to come up with something.
Yeah. I hope. I think it'd be cool if he just pulls something out of his ass. And he's like, oh, here's this. And everyone's like, oh my God.
He's like fucking Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
It's the everlasting gobstopper. People are going to flip.
All right.
Yep.
So last week, you had recommended a movie that I had never seen before, Blood Simple.
That is correct.
You recommended that I watch that, and I recommended you watch Open Range.
Open Range.
So those are the two movies we're going to talk about. But it was just kind of a fun experiment to see what each other thought.
Kind of like that we never seen Lawrence of Arabia.
Correct. But more of we're kind of looking forward to like the perspective, or at least the I guess the review of that movie.
That's right. It's not AFI recommending that you watch something, Jay. It's Matt.
Yeah. M-A-T.
Yes.
T.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about Open Range.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Open Range, 2003 came out, rated R. A former gunslinger is forced to take up arms again when he and his cattle crew are threatened by a corrupt lawman. Open Range is directed by Kevin Costner, and it stars Kevin Costner as Charlie Waite, Boss, or Robert Duvall as Boss, Annette Bening as Sue, and Michael Gammon as Denton Baxter.
It's another good synopsis.
Yeah. Ripped straight from it. IMDb. So, I recommended this movie to you.
Yes.
And I told you last week it wasn't going to be earth shattering or anything.
You said it wouldn't change my life.
It would not change your life.
No.
But I am a fan of Westerns. This is probably, I think, one of the best Westerns that have come out in the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what'd you think?
I agree with you. It did not change my life, Jay.
Yes.
But it is a very good movie. I would give it a solid B+.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like how smart the characters are in the movie. They take their time playing out the next steps. The very first 30 minutes of the movie, it sets the atmosphere very well, where it's long shots of just grazing on the plain. You're getting to understand their day to day when it comes to just herding cattle, cowboying, all that good stuff. You get to learn the characters a little bit. He was Button, Mose, and Boss Spearman.
Yep.
And Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
So they set the characters up great. They give you a nice sense of space because it's called Open Range, damn it. So we're going to show you some open range. So good on them. Taking their time to plan out steps. There's a scene or when they're meeting the marshal at the jail because they know they'll want to strike soon because Denton Baxter would want results and wonder why he hired them. So they plan out steps throughout the movie where something happens and then they go and consult each other and they talk about what are we going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
And they're smart about it. And the audience is led into their decision-making process.
Yeah.
They do that all the time. Like when they go in and they see that Mose got beaten up at the bar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to bail him out, or not bail him out, but get him out of there. And they meet Denton Baxter and the corrupt marshal.
Mm-hmm.
And they get their feelers for him. They start to, space and feel each other out a little bit. And when they get back to the range or the open range or whatever, and they're talking about what are we going to do now? And Button is like, well, there was 3 guys on horses out there looking at us. And they go, well, show us. And they go, is that 4. Them? Oh, there's 4 now. So then they just sit there. Literally, the scene is a shot of Kevin Costner, Robert Duvall, and Diego Luna looking at these 4 guys, and they're just staring at each other. All right, let's go talk. So they go.
Yeah, just to see how they're going to
react.
Because there's 2 possibilities during that time. It's Charlie's in the back of his head thinking, he's like, these guys are going to try and murder us.
Yes. Yep.
Or they're there to intimidate us.
Yep.
So let's go and talk to them. If they talk to us, maybe it's more in line with intimidation. If they don't, they're probably just going to straight up try and murder us.
Yep.
So, but it's that kind of, let's go find out.
Yep.
See where we're at, what we need to decide next.
Yep. So that happens. They walk away. The bandits do, and they come back, and then they have a discussion on what we should do. It's like, well, if we sit here, they're going to come up, they're going to murder us, and they're going to take everything we have. Mm-hmm. Or we can go meet them where they're camped out right now and put the fear of God in them.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically what they do. So there's a lot of moments like that throughout the movie where something happens, they confer with each other, you start to get in there on their thought process, and then they execute.
Yeah.
It's like the whole movie, and it's great. I like how they do that.
Yeah, it is. They don't just go guns blazing.
No, there's a plan.
But yeah, they do that throughout the whole movie. One of my favorite parts is Charlie is getting worked up and he's pissed and he just wants to go to the jailhouse, and because they're not perfect, they're not always keeping their cool.
Yeah.
To where there's an instance where it's raining in the town and Charlie just wants to go to the jail. He's like, screw it, let's just go to the jailhouse. Let's kill the sheriff, and then we can wait for the gang to show up. Then we'll kill them there.
When they come the next day,
and then we can go and get Baxter. And Robert Duvall's character, Boss Spearman, he's like, well, no, I don't think we should do that. And Kevin Costner or Charlie's getting pissed because Boss asked him for his opinion, and he's like, well, that's what I said I was going to do. And he's like, just take a breath. And then when he said that, the wide shot of him, Charlie just standing in the rain, just getting wet, it's just like a good, like, calm down. You don't even know where you're at right now. You're getting poured on.
Yeah.
And Robert Duvall's just standing underneath the awning.
Why don't you come up out of the rain there, Charlie?
Yeah. It's like, take a breath, realize where you're at, where we're at, to get your head back on right. And I like that. Yeah. Like you said, I like that aspect of it. To where they're smart.
Yep.
Not guns blazing, but also they're fundamentally, you can tell who's fundamentally good and fundamentally bad, to where now everyone's an anti-hero. The villains are actually good people, and all the good people are actually bad people.
We're all good.
Yeah. And
at some level,
it really got a jump start in Dexter, to where, it's a serial killer. And
with a heart of gold.
Yeah. But, well, not a heart of gold, but he kills other killers. And so, but all that is just creating a character that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Or that you can follow or be willing to follow. Same thing with Walter White at the beginning, to where so you always have these anti-heroes. But that's what I like about Open Range, is that they're fundamentally good. Yeah, Charlie plays a character to where he did some bad shit in his past life in the war. But
you can forgive him for that because everybody has done bad shit in a war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or people have made mistakes in their life, varying degrees or whatever. So it's not like he's perfect. He's not, they're not always just, I mean, they're not so straight laced, but you can tell that they're good because they've learned from their past experiences. And then you can also tell who's bad. And there's no, I mean, it's just,
they're clearly bad.
Yeah. And the music supports that kind of a movie, to where early on, like the music with the landscapes and everything, it felt like a very wholesome kind of Western, like that old school.
It felt like a Little House on the Prairie kind of feel.
But I mean, where you're standing with each of the characters. You're not going to get some weird off the wall twist like, oh, he was evil all along.
I know, that's true. By the way, I could watch Robert Duvall read stereo instructions. The man is amazing. I love him.
He's really
everything
good.
He's in.
Have you seen Lonesome Dove?
No, I bet it's good. I bet he's good in it.
I'll let you borrow that. That's
what is it about Robert Duvall? He's got that like Tom Hanks quality where it's just I don't know. You can watch him think.
He's incredibly charming to the he's charming, and I think it's like he thinks he's the funniest person, and he doesn't care if you agree with him or not.
That's a good way to explain it. Yeah, that's true. I like the character arcs too.
Mm-hmm.
I like Boss Spearman's and Charlie's. Boss Spearman, he has the luxury of time and wisdom. His arc is of almost giving up on life and being very no nonsense and not settling down isn't all it's cracked up to be. He wants to pass that on to Button and learn from his mistakes, because he really has something against Button for the first hour of the movie, and then sort of sympathizes with him a little bit. Like, I've been a little too hard on him.
Mm-hmm. He's a very paternal figure. not only to
Yeah.
Button, but also to
That's where I was going with it. The paternal aspect of it. You know, he doesn't have any kids himself. So he's projecting that on Button a little bit.
yeah, and Mose and Charlie
Yeah.
to some extent.
Charlie
So,
definitely.
And I mean, he even flat out says it. He's like, "That's why I've told you guys to get out of this business.
You're gonna
While
bug
you
me.
can." He's like, "So you're not like me," kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Which is a typical father thing
Yeah.
to say. Like, don't do what I did. Do something better.
Yeah,
kind of
pushing Charlie to, you know, go talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
Now you, especially now that you know that they're not married and you like her, so don't live your life in regret.
Yeah. And I like that too, to where I like that instant. And that kind of goes along with the you know the good people are good. To where when they think the Sue is the wife of the doctor, you could tell that, okay, yeah, I find her attractive. They don't approach her.
Doesn't act on it.
I mean, if that movie was made today, she would have been married to the doctor, and Kevin Costner trying to bang her, and like the doctor would be abusive and blah blah blah, and like
that's right.
And they were just like, nope. Well, yeah, she was pretty, and yep. And then they just later, and it was funny because when they found, no, it's not the doctor's wife, that's a sister, and you could just, they're both like, oh shit, like
yeah. Oh, say what?
Oh, hold on. Let me go get my game really quick.
That's right. It's my best pickup line.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dialogue too, by the way, was great. I wrote down here some of my favorite ones. I didn't raise my boys to see him die. And Costner goes, well, there are things that gnaw at a man worse than dying. It's a great retort. She's entitled to more than just your backside walking away. Well, if I'm going to get killed, I got a hankering to soothe my sweet tooth.
I like that whole scene too, in the general store, to where the town's aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
And to where they both realize, well, all right,
This is it.
Let's I'm gonna get some cigars, some candy, and Kevin Costner is gonna order a tea set.
Yeah.
And like, let's take care of our shit really quick, and then enjoy what last little bit we have, and then do what we have to do. And if we make it, we make it. If not, oh well.
By the way, I gotta say, I did not anticipate the standoff scene to be that good. It lasted longer than I expected. I thought it was gonna be like a quick 10-minute thing, but it lasted like 25-30 minutes.
It's going.
Yeah.
And how was your sound?
It was good. Yes. I agree.
I like how they handle gunshots, because I think there was only one time before that gunfight where you hear a gun go off, and that was in the bar when they were trying to get served, and the barkeeper
he
shot the mirror.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
I think that was the only time they did a gunshot. And then, because I remember the first time I saw this, surround sound, everything, and the whole movie was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just dialogue,
It is.
some underscore for the music, but it's just a dialogue movie. There's not very loud special effects at all, except for that one gunshot. But in the final, in the climax of the film with the shootout, I just remember that the sound mix for that was just so much more louder and more intense than everything else, that there was only one other movie I saw to where I felt those gunshots, and that was 16 Blocks in Grauman's Chinese Theater. And that was probably had to do with the sound system that was in that theater at the time, because whenever those gunshots were going, I was looking behind me.
Oh, gotcha.
They sounded so real, so close. And the first time I saw Open Range, I had the exact same feeling as that. But I love the sound mix with the gunfight. I like the wide angles that they use for the gunfight. I mean, other than a couple of shots, like right at the beginning when he just shoots the guy in the head.
Yeah.
Which I love scenes like that. Like, oh, you're
the biggest, baddest guy here.
Yeah. You're the one to kill. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
I gotta say though, I was a little disappointed in that, because I love Kim Coates.
Yeah.
He's like the best bad guy ever.
Yeah.
He's on Sons of Anarchy. He was my favorite character in Sons of Anarchy. But he's always cast as like the creepy, slimy, like guy.
Well, Kevin Costner killed him in Waterworld too.
He did. That's right.
and his catamaran.
His catamaran.
Half an
I
hour,
forgot
half an
about
hour,
that.
half an hour, half an hour. But yeah, I love the sound mix. And the whole gunfight. Yeah, they took their time with it. It wasn't
great.
You didn't have people like running down the street in the middle.
I liked that they didn't have perfect aim either. Thank God.
They're missing shit.
Yes. As you would. As you would.
And which I like that scene also for Sue, because she wasn't the damsel in distress. She was,
she put her life on the line there, trying to save Button, and
she was a full character, which part of it I feel like owes a debt to the book.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. So, and she wasn't a pushover. She wasn't the typical woman in like this kind of movie where, oh geez, kind of thing. But she actually had dimension and character. But
do you have any negatives for the movie? Anything you would change?
A little smalty in there, some areas, but I don't think so. I mean, it's not one that I would rewatch a lot.
I would agree with that.
I watch it about the time because I know that I like it.
Yes.
And after a certain period of time, because I've only seen it 2 other times, and they've been about 7 years apart when I read them. I just remember liking it, and I'm like, I really don't remember much.
You watch
about
it to the point where you're like, I kind of forget this, but
I kind of forget it. I'm going to turn it on. Like,
let's watch it. Yeah.
And
that's a good way. That's a good way to see it.
But negatives, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a decent movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Kevin Costner's best. I mean, Dances with Wolves, I think is a little bit better.
Postman is the best.
I have not seen that. I kind of want to, just because I like Kevin Costner movies. He's coming out with a new movie called Horizon.
Really?
Yeah. It's.
Did you like Waterworld?
Yes,
I did too.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it gets such a bad rap. I mean, because it was expensive, it didn't make as much money as they thought it did. But overall, I thought it was a pretty.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where it came from. I haven't seen it recently. Maybe we should watch it. And
I love Dennis Hopper too. Yeah. Love him.
I mean, it's a goofy.
It's goofy
movie. It's a fun movie.
Yeah,
it's Mad Max on water.
It's exactly what it is.
So maybe we should probably talk about that sometime.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind watching that.
But my negatives for the movie were very nitpicky, completely nitpicky. Some of the moments didn't need the score in the background. For example, when Charlie had a PTSD flashback when Sue woke him up, it would have been better if it was just silent and they let the sound of the rain in the background, and that's all that was there. They had this like emotional, archy score, kind of cheesy score. If they just would have had the rain, it was raining. Like let the sound, just let it rain.
Let the sound do it.
Yeah. And then the ending, I thought was a little too sentimental, cheesy. You know, kissing that Benning a few too many times, and then the slow motion right off with the cheesy music. I'm like, you don't have to do that. Just kiss her goodbye and credits roll, and that's it.
Okay.
But other than that,
I get it.
Other than that, great. B+, Jay.
Yeah. I like
solid movie.
One final thing. I like the rain, the storm, the dog falling in the water. Yeah. That was just a small little thing like that. I mean, earlier today, I was like, was that even needed? And then I was like, oh yeah, it was, because it helped instill the town into liking him, because he saved the guy's dog, and then the guy vouched for him.
They can trust him a little bit.
Yeah. And it just kind of snowballed into the town getting behind
It was a nice little touch too about the elements that they're living in. It rains that much, and
it washes away your street. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, there's 3 inches of muddy water. It's waist deep water that you could die in.
That's right.
And but yeah, I like that touch. I like the little foreshadowing of, every time we get a storm like this, it just washes the town clean.
That's right.
And or the next day, the whole town is washed away clean. Yeah. And which that was the first time I picked up on that when I watched it this week. But.
And I do like that Costner in a Western in Montana, but doesn't have the gruffy John Dutton voice. I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
He had his normal Costner voice, which is good.
His new movie, Horizon, is Hold on, let me bring this up really quick because you'll like it. Because he loves being in westerns. He loves.
Oh, I like it, Jay. Sure, I like it.
But yeah, the next one he directs chronicles a multifaceted 15-year span of pre and post Civil War expansion and settlement of the American West.
Oh, wow.
So, and it stars Kevin Costner.
And to a lot of listeners out there, they just fell asleep. You explaining that.
Hard dicks. Oh, you're awake again. Okay.
Wait, there's no fucking wizards or dragons in this?
So, but yeah, I mean, I think that'll be, I don't know. I'm a sucker for Westerns.
No, that sounds good.
It could just be, 3 hours of someone slowly trotting through.
That's right.
Big sky, mountains in the background.
Let it play. Let it sink in. Enjoy it. Let it breathe a little bit.
So, yeah. Anything else on Open Range?
Nah, great pick. I recommend it.
All right. Blood Simple. Blood Simple was released in 1984, rated R. The owner of a seedy small-town Texas bar discovers that one of his employees is having an affair with his wife. A chaotic chain of misunderstandings, lies, and mischief ensues after he devises a plot to have them murdered. Written and directed by the Coen Brothers, although Ethan Coen is uncredited in this.
Yes.
So
he produced it, though.
Yes. But it stars, let me turn to my notes. John Getz plays Ray. Frances McDormand plays Abby. Dan Hedaya. Jesus Christ, plays Marty. and M. Emmett Walsh plays Private Investigator Visser.
Yep. Lauren Visser.
So Blood Simple. I guess I'll go.
So Jay, yeah, this is the one I recommended to you.
Yes.
I could not believe you had not seen the Coen Brothers debut movie.
Yep.
And I remember seeing it when I was in high school and just loved it immediately. And I probably watch it every other year around there. It's like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's
not too long.
It's not long at all.
It's a simple movie. But yeah, what'd you think of it?
All right. So of the Coen Brothers movies that I've seen, obviously Big Lebowski, Fargo, Lady Killers, No Country for Old Men, True Grit, and I want to say that is it. There may be one or two in there, but I haven't seen Raising Arizona.
Ooh.
And
you would love Raising Arizona.
I haven't seen Intolerable Cruelty. I haven't seen
that one's not good.
I think a couple other one. Oh, I saw Hail Caesar. Saw that one.
Okay. So you haven't seen like Barton Fink or the Hudsucker Proxy?
Saw Barton Fink, saw Hudsucker Proxy. Those are the ones I've seen, but it's been so long that
it's been a while for me too.
And then Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I've seen bits and pieces of that.
I've already talked about this. It's the most overrated movie ever. Ugh.
So I've seen Fargo and I've seen Big Lebowski though.
Okay.
So that kind of goes with how I'm relating to this movie.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. It felt like a first movie.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching Raimi's Evil Dead after I had watched Raimi's other movies.
Right.
I could see where the inspiration or the style was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this as a first movie better than Wes Anderson's first movie, Bottle Rocket.
Okay.
Because when I watched Bottle Rocket, other than a couple of dialogue pieces, I didn't really feel like it was a Wes Anderson movie.
Mm.
Rushmore got a little bit there, but I really didn't feel like it was full Wes Anderson until about some aspects of Royal Tenenbaums. But Life Aquatic was full Wes Anderson. Blood Simple, I could tell it was a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it for that aspect. The first thing I wrote down was the bug
on Emmett Walsh. Yeah,
VW bug, because there's a VW bug in Big Lebowski that a PI is driving, and it's always like it was parked away in the distance.
Yeah.
When they showed it, and because I think that was in the first like 2 minutes of the movie, to where Frances McDormand like looks in the rear view and sees the VW Bug behind her, and
Oh yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, that's the same thing that Lebowski saw in his rear view. He saw a bug, and he goes confronts the guy eventually. But couple of stylistic camera moves. The dolly shot along the bar over the sleeping drinker when I think the bar was shut down for the evening, but it just goes, the camera lifts up over the drinker and then followed. Like it was very exacting and very deliberate. And a lot, I mean, I feel like they're known for a lot of those camera moves, dolly shots especially. And then they similar the fall back into bed shot with Frances McDormand where she kind of like passes out and falls into bed.
They had the Sam Raimi projectile cam shot when God, Dan Hidaya's character, what's his name? You said it already.
Oh,
anyway, he goes in to confront Abby.
Marty
comes in to confront Abby, and he takes her out of the house. Yep. And then the projectile cam from the Evil Dead comes in and zooms up. I was like, they watched the Evil Dead here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I'm glad they introduced humor into their movies.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to be bringing up Fargo and Big Lebowski a lot, but it was a very similar movie as Fargo and Big Lebowski. It was a crime gone wrong, and shit just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Big Lebowski kind of had a happy ending. A little bit, but it's just idiots falling over each other. And I like how eventually they made the characters dumb. I didn't get a sense of dumb from these characters, maybe ill prepared. But it didn't have that sense of goofiness of that Fargo and Big Lebowski.
Not like Fargo and Big Lebowski.
Bumblingness of characters. It felt a little bit little more gruesome, and I'm glad they interjected humor into their later movies, because I think Fargo especially, I think would have been which Fargo is kind of a sad movie. It really would have been depressing if everyone played it straight.
Yeah.
I mean, they did play it straight, but like they didn't have the humor in it. I think it would have been a very depressing movie.
No, I agree with that.
Because it would have turned it into a cautionary tale as opposed to
it wouldn't set it apart like it did.
Correct.
Yes. I like the fact that it's called Blood Simple, and you're expecting it to be just a simple murder for hire mystery that maybe goes a little wrong here or there. I thought that when I first saw it, I thought it was just going to be a movie about two star-crossed lovers that are running away from a hitman that was hired to kill them. And that's what the whole movie was going to be about. And that was it. They're just running away from this hitman, and the hitman stalking him throughout the movie. And it instantly turns to where the hitman double crosses Marty right away, tries to frame the boyfriend. The boyfriend comes and thinks that the girlfriend did it. So she tries to hide the body so that she doesn't get into trouble. He ends up not being dead, and he buries the fucker alive, which is a great scene, by the way, of him burying him alive. He goes to confront her about it. She has no idea what is going on, because he's talking circles around it and he's freaking out and all that good stuff. Hitman comes back, realizes that the body's gone, and needs to cover up what happened. So he tries to go and murder both of them. Anyway, I like the fact that you think it's going to be a simple story like Hitman for Hire, and it turns into this.
Yeah.
But since I saw it and I'm used to the Coen Brother filmography, it's not as shocking because there are twists and turns throughout their movies. If I would have saw this in 1984 for the first time, it probably would have been a different experience.
Yeah.
Probably weren't a lot of movies out there like that.
And the movie could have easily been kind of a dark comedy.
There's some funny dialogue in it.
There is.
Yeah. Stick your finger up the wrong person's ass. That's a good line.
Yeah.
It was also a nice little funny touch that after he buries Marty alive, he goes back to the car and there's the ominous music's playing while he's doing it, and then the car stalls, and then the music stops. for like 10 seconds.
Mhm.
And then starts again and the music goes.
Yeah.
That's a deliberate choice, folks.
Yeah.
They're trying to make some comedic tones with that little scene there. But
Mhm.
like, I like, how they have literally dead fishes. Like he brings back dead fishes, puts it on the table, sleeping with the fishes. Come on. I mean, pretty obvious. Nice little touch. I love the dead end street that he lives on. There's like two times where like someone comes to tell John gets his character. I'm Ray, right? Ray has either confronting Ray or give him some piece of pivotal information, and they drive off like screaming away, and they realize it's dead, and they have to come back.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That's good.
I laughed at that part.
It's just Coen Brothers,
Yeah,
their little touches. But what would you give it overall? Would you recommend it? Would you recommend people see it, or?
I would. Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Coen Brothers, I recommend it. Just for the simple fact that you're going to see a lot of their trademark shticks that they do.
Yeah.
In this movie, and you'll see a lot of similarities to where it's not. I said this before. It's not so early that they didn't have a sense of what kind of filmmakers they wanted to be. It is. It fits within their filmography
for sure.
It follows that.
It's definitely the rubric of their subsequent films. Yeah, you can see all the different touches in it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think by today's standards, if it was just a random movie not associated with the Coen Brothers, I don't know if it would have been, I guess, is not monumental, but a big of a deal.
Right.
That it would have been. Like if it was just a one-off director that just happened to come out with this movie, maybe a cult following to it, but I don't think it would have. I don't know if people would still be talking about it. But I mean, because it is a Coen Brothers, it's been released on Criterion. It's it's noteworthy because it's the first one from these directors that have worked for 30, 40 years. So, but yeah, I recommend it.
What do you think of Dan Hidea's fursuit?
I told Christy when we were watching this, I was like, that is a hairy dude.
That man.
Yeah, it was a picture, wasn't it?
Yes.
I was like, Jesus, that's a fucking sweater. And oh my God, he was hairy. I said, I know I said something when I saw that. And I was like, God. And that's amazing.
He was one of those hairy people where you look at his 5 o'clock shadow in the movie. He probably shaved an hour ago. It's so just thick.
Yeah.
Just not a.
He's a quarter Hungarian, so that's why.
the man's hairy, folks. Jeez. Yeah.
And I think that was the first. This is the first serious role I've seen him in. I mean, the only thing I really remember him in is Clueless.
Oh, yeah,
I know he's been in a bunch of stuff.
He was in The Addams Family and.
Yeah.
He's really good in The Hurricane. He plays the guy who persecutes Denzel Washington, Reuben Hurricane Carter. He's like the corrupt cop that frames him. He's really good in that. But yeah, you're right. Other than that, then not too many dramatic roles that I remember him being in. But I remember this now.
He was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Was he really?
Yeah. He played Red.
What is that even? I don't even remember. I just watched it and I don't remember him being in it.
Yeah.
But Jay, that fursuit puts Robin Williams to shame.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, Robin Williams looked like a seal compared to.
I think we pretty much covered them both, Jay.
I think we did. All right.
What are we going to talk about next time, Jay?
Oh, hold on. I got to open up my thing. There it is. All right, my thing's open. Well, next week we will be talking about.
Oh, beautiful. Give the people what they want.
If you want more of that,
yeah,
join us next week as we talk about Judd Apatow's new film, The Bubble, and Charlie McDowell's Windfall. Both movies which are currently playing on Netflix. So if you are one of our 12 followers and you would like to watch these movies before we review them and haven't seen them already, get Netflix. don't get the ad-supported one. Get the commercial-free one.
Or share your password.
Or share your password while you can.
That's right. They're
while you can
crack down on that. Which, by the way, is going to lose them more subscribers. So, yeah, smart moves.
But yeah, the bubble and windfall will be the. We'll see if those are any good.
Well, Jay, what do you think? What are your expectations for the bubble and windfall?
I've not heard good things about the bubble, so I think that style of comedy is sunsetting, waning.
It might be set.
Yeah. I don't, but
it is Judd Apatow.
It is. He is good with comedy, so that has. Yeah. But Windfall, haven't heard anything about. Saw a trailer, thought it looked interesting.
Yep. I like Jesse Plemons.
Yep. Meth Damon and
Jason Segel.
Meth Damon.
Is that what you call him?
No, I called Jesse Plemons Meth Damon.
I thought you were referring to Jason Segel.
No.
I'm a fucking idiot. It's like, wait, really?
Which Jesse Plemons married Jane.
Kirsten Dunst. Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Attaboy.
That's some pull.
He's got that BDE, Jay.
Just slanging, swinging everywhere. So yeah, the bubble, Windfall, watch it, and we will talk about it next week.
Yes, we will.
Awesome.
Jay, do you have any sign-offs?
I don't
either.
No sign-offs.
No.
Watch us or listen to us. We still don't have an email where you can write in. Leave a comment somewhere on our YouTube.
That'd be great. We promise we're working towards this.
Yeah, we got fucking life, people. Like, we can't.
Well, Jay, until next time.
Until next time.
I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.